It's your boy, Colton Havens, aka Mr. Hype, and I'm here with Jared Briggs. So super excited to have you here, brother. We're going to be talking life insurance and how to use it while we're still alive. And basically get to know Jared. Jared and I met on Facebook. He was putting some golf, and I was like, bro, let's go play golf, man.
Yeah, dude. Well, I thought it was funny because you said you're like, dude, I messaged you like, let's go play around, and the next week we're playing around. Like, I messaged so many people and they never show up. I was like, dude, I'm always up for a good time.
Yeah. Well, that's how you know people are the real deal is like it don't have to take much like, hey, and that you're already doing things, you know what I mean? I mean, we even
That's
made
right.
videos on the course.
We did.
So I mean that's really cool. Most of the time like my whole job is talking people into make videos, and when you're around the right people, it kind of just flows and happens. So Jared,
Yeah,
so
we
tell me so I listened to a couple of your podcast videos of the real you. And I love your message, man. I love your message overall is just be yourself. And you said you went on the last episode I watched. I think it might have been the last one. You were talking about your personal development journey that you didn't know you were going on because of content. You were like, hey, there's so much personal growth that I've gone through just by making this show and going through that thing. So just kind of like, where are you from? Where are you from, man?
so I grew up in a little tiny town called Manila, Utah. So I'm from Utah, live in Utah. I've always been from Utah. And sorry, my screen was crazy dirty. Um, so I grew up in a little tiny town right next to Utah, Colorado, and Wyoming. And my graduating class was 16 people. So I mean, when I say tiny, like tiny, man, like real tiny town. Grew up on a cattle ranch, did baseball, basketball, track and field, did 4-H, like all kinds of stuff. So I've always been pretty active and into different things. I didn't do golf in high school, but I, man, like
I didn't either. I thought
I,
it was for gay people. Like that's
yeah,
lame.
yeah, yeah. I always thought like the sissies did golf, and now I'm like, dude, I wish I could golf every day. Like it's so dang fun. I
Yeah,
missed out in high school, man.
yeah. We,
Yeah,
we we would be really really good if we had high school background on it.
no kidding, no kidding. So I'm a country boy. Just love having a good time.
Awesome. So how did you get into life insurance? What was that transition like? Why'd you pick life
That
insurance as a profession?
that's a good
Insurance in
question.
general.
I've been in the business in the insurance business since March of 2017, so a little over 5 years now. And I I'm LDS, so if anybody knows, so I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and I served a 2-year mission out in South Carolina. So I lived out in South Carolina for 2 years, and some of the leaders out there, they were in the insurance industry. And I always thought, like, man, these guys have created a cool lifestyle, like what they're able to do, because like they were out there and still getting paid, like growing their businesses, you know. So I'm like, God, that's pretty cool what they do. But I never really had an interest in it. But I come home, get married to my wife, and I'm working. I was working, dude, anything that I could find, like jobs and audit and things. My wife, she was going to school. I did 1.5 semesters of school, and I was just in this dead end job. And I knew somebody in the business. And so I just started chatting with him. Well, actually, one day I told my wife, I was like, I gotta find something different. Like I'm not making enough money. I wasn't even making $1,000 a month in my job. So I'm
Mhm.
like, I gotta find something different, you know? And it just happened to be somebody asked my wife like that week, like, hey, would you want to sell insurance? You know, my husband's looking for somebody to help him in his business. And so I'm like, well, shoot, I know him. So I'm just going to chat with him. Well, come to find out, like, you didn't work for the company. You just get your license and you're an independent business owner, but you work with their office. So you can grow your own business, but you use their office for licensing, contracting, training, all that. And so I just like looked at the opportunity. I'm like, shoot, I could do this. And started out, everybody's probably seen the Aflac commercials, right? So yep. So started out in supplemental insurance, didn't like it. And so I branched out into health insurance and Medicare and life insurance and have really started building my own thing. So it's just kind of a fluke thing of how it come to be, but it just stuck. Because this is the crazy thing. 1% of insurance agents actually make it in the business past 5 years. Like it's considered one of the toughest industries to make it and be successful in. And so when I started, I literally just I was still working that one job. I helped a guy paint houses. I'd go drive truck for my dad once in a while. Like I'd go because he'd pay me $200 a day. And so I'd like find 3, 4, 5 days that I could go drive for him every month. Cause I'm like, if I could go make $1,000, like that'll pay my rent and everything, plus the other things that I'm doing for another month. So every time I'd call him, he'd be like, rent's coming close. I'm like, yep, put me on the road, you know? So I literally just freaking grinded it out to grow my business. But in the insurance industry, like I literally started out, $20 a month, $40 a month, $50 a month. And I just literally just kept going and going and going to build that up to where I could replace those other incomes and then just keep growing from there. So it was just kind of a fluke thing that come about and it stuck and I really enjoy it. So
That's awesome. So let me ask you, let's go back 1 second here. Let's take a quick step back. You said I can do this, right?
yeah,
What 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 are the things that you used as a judgment call of why you thought that you could make it happen? Because your story is very similar to mine. We
yeah,
just we're in different industries is all, but our stories are very, very, very similar. With when I first started out in sales, I didn't know that you could get paid to talk to people.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I was like, dude, I grew up on a small farm. I went to college in Wyoming when I had 6 kids. So we definitely struggled growing up. And my mom, after they split up, she was working 3 jobs, raising 3 of us by herself. And so I started working young, dude, like 10 years old plus, mowing grass, doing all the things. And I
Yeah.
thought my whole life the only way to make money was through hard work, labor.
And
And
that's what I thought too.
yeah,
Like that's how I was raised and taught, right? Like my mom, she busted her butt every day to make sure my brother and I were taken care of, and I looked at that and I'm like, gosh dang, I respect that. There's got to be a better way, because I mean, you meet people growing up. I remember there was one time we went to a basketball camp and someone on the team knew it was down in Provo, Utah area. So we went to like a BYU basketball camp and they knew this family that had a massive house. And we went there, dude, they had like their basement, just their basement living room was bigger than my parents' home. And they had a private pool and all these things. And I remember being there just like, what the freak do these guys know that my parents and a lot of other people know? Like everybody thinks money's so scarce and all these things. And I'm like, well, here's proof. They just housed a 20 something man basketball team for the night, like in their personal freaking private house. Like they know something that we don't know, right? And so I've just always had that thought process of like, there's got to be a better way.
yeah.
And so that's what I set out on.
Yeah, that's big. Well, that's a huge turning stone for the most people too, because up until that point, up until I realized I could talk to people, I always thought that I was just gonna have to work my life away and that was it. Like this is the
Yep.
end of it. Like you just
Yep.
work, you have kids, and you die
Yep.
working. Like my grandpa died with 8 hours on his shift. Like he was a rancher and he had put in 8 hours and went back for lunch and died on the couch
Oh
working.
man.
Now, some people are like, yeah, he did what he wanted to do. And I'm like, look, I only see my grandpa like once every year, once every 2 years, because they have to work. I have to work. We have to travel. We have to pay for travel. We got to it's hard, right? It's hard to get
See, and
everything
that's
together.
that's the thing is everybody sits here and like, well, that's what they want to do. Okay, let's paint a picture here. If you could work your ass off all day long every day, or you could enjoy the things you want to do and yet still get all the other things done, what one would you want? No one in their right mind is going to pick the one working their butt off all day long, never getting anywhere, right? Paycheck to paycheck, just enough to get by, never enjoying anything. So like we all say, everybody says that, but it's honestly just a cop out to truth. Like everybody wants to live the big life. A lot of people like, oh, I'd never want a Lamborghini. Have you ever sat in one? No. Okay, go sit in one. Because I always thought that too, dude. Last March, I went down to an event and they took us to a dealership of luxury cars. There was Ferraris, Lamborghinis, freaking Porsches, like everything you could ever dream of. And dude, like the keys were in them. You could sit in them. You could start them. It was insane. And I sat in all these cars and I'm like, I've always thought they would be cool. But now, dude, you should see my bucket list of the ones that I want. Changed everything. Because like once you experience that, you're like, yeah, dude, I don't want to go back to average. So when everybody says that, they just haven't stretched their mind enough to what's possible.
Yeah, those limiting beliefs come in and creep up on them, and majority of people don't
Right.
even know they have them.
Yeah.
They don't know they exist. They're stuck in the matrix of life. Mainly,
Yep.
I always blame the school system. I'm very anti school system because they teach you not to make mistakes. They teach you there's a right and there's a wrong, and do what you're told, and that's it, and then move
Yeah.
on. And without that creativity, the more creative you get, the more money you'll make. Creativity is
Oh,
only
yeah.
designed off of money. Your income is only limited to your creativity. And when you figure that out, you're like, oh my goodness, there's literally untapped potential income that you can earn for doing lots of different things. You and I are a good example, two different industries, but yet we're able to create a lifestyle around it. Because I always tell people to build your life, build your business around your life, and not your life around your business. So,
Yeah.
and I mean, we went and played golf together and stuff, and that's how we did it. And so you chose life insurance to make this happen. Well, I want to talk mainly about life insurance. I was going to sell life insurance when I first was trying to figure out my stuff as well too. So I do have questions on it, and I think everybody probably needs life insurance. Is a great thing that you need. So just start with some very basic question is like, what does life insurance do?
So life insurance literally is a contract with an insurance company saying if you're to pass away in this time frame, whether there is a time frame or if there isn't a time frame, right? If you're to pass away, we will pay X amount of dollars to your beneficiary. So for example, I have a life insurance policy on myself, right? It's $2 million term policy with the ability to convert to whole life. And so I've literally made a contract with the insurance company saying, hey, if I pass away in the next 20 years, you guys write a check to my wife for $2 million and it's tax free.
Okay.
So life insurance is just literally just a contract for income to practically replace my income if something was to happen to me.
Okay.
So
For how do I know I'm getting, well, let's see, how do I use life insurance while I'm still alive?
that's a good question. So let me so like I said in my policy, right, it has the ability to convert to whole life insurance. So my wife and I, 5 years ago, I started studying life insurance heavily. And I'm like, there's something here. A friend of mine gave me a book. Oh, let me actually pull this up. I got it right here. He gave me a book randomly, dude, just completely randomly. And it's called Become Your Own Banker. And this was right when I got started in the insurance business. So I was like a toddler in the insurance industry still, like didn't know nothing. But he gave me this book and I'm like, what the heck, So I started reading it. Well, it's all about how to use life insurance. So I read this book, I read a couple other books, I started asking people, and my wife and I, when I married my wife, she had over $20,000 in her bank account from doing 4-H and some livestock stuff. And she was getting more scholarship money than she was spending. So that money was literally sitting. So we're like, you know what? Money's no good sitting, right? Like the interest you get in the bank is pennies. So we're like, we got to find something to do with this money. Well, I started reading this book, started asking other people, found a guy that uses these policies exactly how they teach in here and started picking his brain. So what we did is, and this is exactly how you can use it to answer your question. So what we did is we took $5,000 and every year we put it into the policy. So we just pay it one time instead of paying monthly. So we take $5,000 and we put it into the policy. And we started it on my wife because she was super young. And that gives us a death benefit. So the death benefit at the time, I want to say it was $263,000. So we automatically got $263,000 death benefit. But what happens is when you make the premium payment, some of it goes to the cost of insurance, and then some of it goes to what's called cash value. And so instantly, there was already a couple $1,000s that we could borrow against that policy, no questions asked, to use however we see fit. We didn't borrow it because, I mean, it was like $2,000, $3,000 that was available, right? And so over the last 5 years, we've made that premium payment every 5 years, or every year for the last 5 years. So we've put $25,000 in. Well, this year we needed to buy a camper for our situation that we've got going on. We needed to buy a camper. So instead of going to the bank and borrowing money at interest, and now it shows up on our debt to income because we're building a house, we're like, gosh, we don't want to have more debt on our debt to income. Like that'll screw up buying a house, and we'll have to show more income. So all of these things, right? So we actually went to our whole life policy and we requested $20,500. We requested it. It was like 3 or 4 days, and that amount of money was sitting in our bank account. And we took that money. We went and offered a cash offer on this camper, talked them down like $3,000 because we paid cash. And now we're just paying the policy back. So what happens with these policies is
That's
every
pretty
time it's freaking awesome. So what happens with these policies is every time you make a premium payment, some of it goes to the cost of insurance, some of it goes to cash value. Well, I told you when we first started the policy, there's $263,000 in death benefit. Today, there's $409,000. So that policy, the death benefit grows and the cash value grows. And it just every year it compounds even bigger and bigger and bigger because of it spits out a dividend. And instead of us getting that dividend, we've told the policy to put the dividend back into the policy. So then it just grows even faster. And this is what I really love about it. Think of if you had $50,000 sitting in a bank account, and let's say you actually had a bank account that was paying you 5% interest. Let's say you had some type of investment and you were getting 5% interest. Well, when you pulled, let's say you had 50,000, let's say you pulled 30,000 of it, you're now not gaining interest on that 30,000 anymore, right? Because you pulled it out of there. Well, the reason why we really like this policy, and the reason one of the biggest things that sold us on it, is when you have that $20,000 in there and you pull it out, the policy continues to grow as if the money was still there.
Okay.
So that money's still gaining interest and growing in the policy, yet we have it somewhere else doing something else. Awesome. So like, I mean, everybody says the secret to money is learning how to get paid even when you're sleeping.
Yep.
I think the next secret is how you can get $1 to do more than one thing at the same time. And that's exactly what this policy does. It's gaining interest and growing in value in the policy. At the same time, we've got it in our camper, doing some other stuff. And so we've looked at this like, man, we want to buy rental properties, agriculture land, more businesses. So we're just going to keep funneling all of our money through this policy because it's our own bank account. We never have to qualify for it. If we can't make a payment 1 month, it doesn't matter. Like there's nobody saying, hey, you have to make a payment this month. It's all based on how we set it up, right?
Yeah.
So it's just complete freedom of money. I mean, banks are the richest organizations in the world. So if you could capture a part of that and be your own bank, like the opportunity is endless.
So life insurance, in short, from what I just heard you, the phrase is you can be your own bank with life insurance. You can become your own bank if you have a life insurance policy under your name, done the right way.
Done the right way. And that's the thing. You'll see a lot of people say, never buy whole life, never buy whole life. There's a improper way to set it up. So when I set these policies up, so like I'm an agent, right? When I sold my wife her policy, I didn't make that much commission. The reason why is because the commissionable part of the policy, I put very little money there. I actually put most of the money she was putting into the paid up additions. That's what it's called, the paid up additions. And so therefore the whole premium amount wasn't commissionable for me.
Okay.
And so there's a proper way to set it up. And so, you need somebody that's going to set it up correctly.
Okay,
like a standard whole life insurance policy, I wouldn't buy it. Like they're awful, but if they're set up correctly, they're incredible.
So what questions should someone be asking their insurance agent to make sure that they are getting it set up correctly? What's some questions they should be asking? Say they're at the desk. They're like, hey, I need life insurance. I want life insurance, but they need to make sure that the person on the other side of them isn't there for the commission. They're there for the person. So how can me as a customer ask proper questions? What kind of questions should I be asking my life insurance agent to make sure it's set up correctly?
Make sure they understand the infinite banking concept. The carrier that I like to use, I could literally call them on the phone right now live and say, hey, I need help setting up a policy with you guys as an agent, right? Because they do customer support for agents. I need help setting up this policy for the infinite banking concept. And they literally, I've done this. And they're literally like, okay, yeah, let's set up a Zoom and we're going to go through illustrations to show you how to set up the policy correctly.
Cool.
So you need to make sure your agent understands the infinite banking concept and understands that there needs to be, the base policy and then paid up additions. And there's a lot of other things you can do with that, but I mean that's the base of where they need to start. That's exactly how my wife's policy is set up. Because there's a lot of different riders and different things you can get into. But if you want just a basic policy for infinite banking concept, they need to understand exactly what you're building. So I work with carriers that literally market the infinite banking concept. They want that business. They want customers to be like, hey, I literally on the applications, I just submitted a couple policies recently, and I literally put on the application, the main purpose of this policy is for IBC, infinite banking concept. Like the insurance company understands, right? Some do, some don't. So make sure you're working with a company that understands what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, that's super awesome. That's super cool. So like, for the people that like, there's always people out there that are like, is this real? How real is this? People always want to be like a sure thing or infinite, for an infinite banking. There's going to be people that's like, there's no way you can have infinite banking. There's no way there's unlimited amount of money. It doesn't matter what we say or how we do it. So what would you say to those people that just think that it's just not possible at all? What would you say to them?
Dude, I totally vibe with them because when I got this book, I was like, dude, this is way too good to be true. Like, there's no way, right? And so that's why I was reading books, studying things, and then I found this guy named Jason that he's literally bought a restaurant, apartment complexes, his office building. He's literally bought all of these things through his life insurance policies. He's literally used his own bank to do them. And so that was big for me as I could literally sit down with somebody and he showed me his policies like, dude, it sounds crazy, but like, here it is. And so I've done that with a lot of my clients now. They're like, dude, I don't know. And I'll literally log into my wife's policy and it'll show like, it's literally like a bank account you can log into because you have like your agent or your customer portal, right?
Okay.
So I'll literally log into that and be like, look, this shows how much we have loaned out. This shows how much cash value. This shows how much death benefit. They can literally see the policy. And so, I mean, I get it. Like it's something that's not very common yet. It's actually one of the most talked about topics right now because I think people are looking for something different nowadays. So it's a very hot topic right now, but still, I didn't have any family members or friends or anybody that had done it. So I studied it for a year and a half before I pulled the trigger. And then my wife and I are like, what the hell? Let's do it. Let's see what it does. And now I'm like, damn, we should have put more money in and we should have started it earlier because of what it does. So you just, ask questions and find people out there that are doing it and using it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Because I mean, well, that makes you think of like, how come we didn't hear about this in school?
No kidding.
Why don't we learn about these type of things, right after high school or through high school? I honestly think high school. We should start learning things on high school, what you want to do, and just experiment with the different lifestyles or things that you want to do in school. I just feel like it should be done. At least have something like that, right? Because we go to school to get ready for life, and then we're in real life and learn that school didn't teach us shit.
School is a waste of time, man.
Yeah.
This is my personal opinion. The reason why we've never heard of this is because these policies have the ability to make every American financially free. When you actually really start looking into the policy, and this book, it literally breaks it down of how they've used these policies. It could literally make every financial or every American family, every family in the world financially free. Have you ever heard of the Rockefellers?
Yeah.
How does their wealth continue to grow?
Banks. They own the banks.
They own these.
Yeah.
They are one of the largest families that have invested in whole life insurance. So when a family member dies, they get these massive death benefits and they just roll it into the next family member. and it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Because like this policy of my wife's, as long as it continues to perform as it is, which the company it's with, they haven't had a down year in like 150 years. So I'm not too worried about it because the Great Depression was within the last 150 years. So if they can last that, pretty solid, right?
Yeah.
If it can continue on, this policy, the cash value and the death benefit will be well over $1 million by the time she's in her 60s. So when she passes away, let's say I have a policy and my wife has a policy. Well, let's say we leave a couple $1 million with our kids just in whole life insurance, and we teach them to do the same thing. So they take all of that money and put it into another policy. Well, by the time they die, what if their benefits, 2-3 million, and then they teach their kids to do it? Now theirs is 5 to 6 million. They teach their kids to do it. It's not going to take long before that massive amount of wealth is just being transferred from kid to kid because it's tax free. Like, think about if you have a huge estate and you leave it with your kids, they've got to pay a massive amount of tax, right? But if you have life insurance, it's tax free. So you could just literally leave this with your kids and then they can borrow cash value to do what they want to do. It just literally has the ability to just go crazy. So
at what age should somebody be looking to get into life insurance?
now my little girl is 18 months old in a couple days, and I've actually been running illustrations. I should have got it done sooner. I've just been putting it off. But the policy I'm looking at starting on her, it'll be about $150,000 death benefit, and that's only $50 to $100 a month. But by the time she's 18, it'll be a couple $100,000 in death benefit and around 30,000 in cash value. So I'm like, if she wants to go to college or start a business or something, she already has $30,000 available, and we were putting $50 a month into it. Like that's freaking incredible.
So you're saying parents can get life insurance for the kids right now, and they can be set up for by the time they're ready to leave the house and kick them out and they'll have money?
Yep. That's this guy that taught me. That's what he did for his kids. So he has multiple policies on all of his kids. And when they graduate and get married, he gifts them the policy. And then he's taught them how to properly use them. Right. And so then he just gifts it to them, and they just freaking take off. Yeah. Like I know his son, and dude, that guy's just killing it in life because he has just unlimited access to this capital.
Yeah, well, when you have money, you can do a lot of things.
Yeah.
The people say money is the root of all evil, and money just going to make you a bad person, and yada yada yada. Money just makes you more of who you are. Yep. And I honestly think the lack of money is the root of evil, because without money, you have crime. That's why low income places have a lot of freaking crime, because they now have to steal to eat. They now have to beat you up to get your shoes, all those stupid things, because they don't have $200. They don't have the access to this information. So what do people have to lose? What do people have to lose, Jared, if they get a life insurance policy? What's the worst case scenario? Say they sign up and things do not go good. What's the worst thing that could happen?
Worst case scenario, they would suspend the policy. They would just stop paying the premium and they would suspend the policy, and it's gone and over with, right? But if it's properly set up and they properly fund it correctly, there's everything to gain. It's because this is the cool part about it. Let's say you get the policy built up, let's say 10 years from now, my wife and I have a rough year and we can't make the premium payment. You can borrow the cash value to pay the premium. So it's practically impossible for the policy to end if it's set up correctly. Like there's just everything to gain on it.
Okay. And for the person worried about how much they have to pay every month.
Yeah.
What do you say to that person?
You can put in as much as you can. I just literally had a couple people do their medical exam on Monday. They did their medical exam, and they've both been kind of like, man, we'd love to put, 20 grand a year into this thing, but maybe we can't. And I'm like, dude, that's fine. Put in exactly what you can, because we can always add more later. So if somebody's like, dude, I can only afford $100 a month. Great. Like, let's get that sucker going, because even $1,200 a year, that's going to turn into something, right? Over a 10, 20, 30 year period, it's going to turn into something that we can leverage on. Another big thing that I like to do is because you have to qualify for life insurance, right? If you're not healthy, you're not going to qualify. They won't issue a policy on you. So what my wife and I have done, because we don't have the capital yet to put into these policies that we want, like I want to be putting 20, 30, 40, 50,000 a year into these things, as many as we can. I mean, I want to start multiple on me, multiple on my wife, multiple on my daughter. Like I want to funnel a lot of money through these policies. And so what my wife and I have done is to make sure we're insurable. We started a term insurance policy that is convertible to whole life. So at any point, I can take a portion of my policy and convert it to whole life, no questions asked. I don't have to do a medical exam or health questions or anything ever again. So that's something super important that I advise people to do is like, look, if you're going to buy a policy, let's set you up for the future. Maybe you can't put very much into the whole life right now. Let's get your term going, set it up so that we can convert it later on. And now you're solid, because there's a lot of people out there that wait too long and then something medically happens and now they can't qualify. And they're like, damn it, you know? So that's a big thing that I like to educate people on.
What do you tell the person that has bad health?
If somebody literally can't start one on their own, find a family member that you have insurable interest in and buy one on them. Like if I wasn't, I would just keep buying more on my wife.
Ah, okay.
You know, or my daughter or something, and be like, hey, this one's actually for me, you know. But yeah, I would just find somebody that has insurable interest.
Yeah.
I'm getting ready to do some stuff with my mom, like business wise, so that we would have insurable interest in each other, right? And so there's a lot of different things you can do with that to make sure you can get a policy going.
So what's holding people back from doing this then, Jared?
Education and understanding. Because like now, like when we started my wife's policy, I was in the scarcity mindset, right? So we're like, let's just put 5,000 a year and just see what it does, you know? Well, knowing what I know now, I'm like, damn, I wish we would have done a $10,000 a year policy. And then we would have had to work our butts off to figure out how to pay that. But the growth and the ability in that is just crazy. So once I finally grasped onto it and understood it, I mean, now like my literal focus is getting as much money prepared that I can put into these policies.
That's awesome. So
I mean, just education and understanding.
okay, you just think they're just not educated enough to know how it works, so it's more scarcity mindset's what you're saying.
Yeah.
That's the only reason people aren't doing this?
Yeah.
Mostly?
I believe so. Yeah, and a lot of people don't understand the importance of life insurance, you know? Like I can see, you know, some people where life insurance doesn't make sense. But like me, if I was to pass away, that affects my family.
Yeah.
Like my goal is to provide an incredible lifestyle for my wife and my daughter and our future kids, right? Well, if I pass away, it affects that. So I want my family's lifestyle to be the same, whether I'm here or whether I'm gone. So life insurance companies, they have a thing called a human life value. That's what they base how much you're worth. And so, you know, like based off your income, your net worth, all of that, they're going to take all those factors and they factor it and say, okay, you make this much a year, you have this much longer until you're in retirement, and this is your net worth. Your human life value over the next X amount of years is 3.2 million. We will insure you for 3.2 million. Well, then if you get a raise, they're like, oh, now you're worth 3.8 million, right? Like we all have a human life value. And so I don't think people realize the importance of life insurance and the value. They look at it as just a straight cost, right? Now I can't wait to pay my wife's policy. We pay every March. We get excited to write that $5,000 check. The reason why is because the policy grows. Every time we put money in it, it grows. So why wouldn't you get excited about that, right?
No,
It's actually, we don't look at it as a cost now. It's literally like, look, we're putting this much in and we're getting this much back. Like we can't lose. So just a lot of education and understanding on that.
So how does someone get started?
Literally, like all right, I'm working with somebody right now. Ask the same question. I said, this is exactly what we need to do. We need to submit an application.
Okay.
So I meet with them within 30 to 45 minutes. We can have an application fully done and submitted to the life insurance company. If they need to do a medical exam, I'll schedule that out. If they have any other questions or things. So we literally submit it to the insurance company. They give us an answer back. No money's transacted. So like everybody that I have in my system right now that I've submitted policies for, they haven't had to pay nothing. The insurance company pays for the medical exam, and we're literally looking for an answer back. So on somebody that I've worked with right now, we submitted a request for $3 million based off their human life value, but they come back and they're like, well, they're actually only worth 2.5. We're like, okay, great. We'll take 2.5. And then now we're waiting for their medical exam to come back. So once we get their medical exam back and we have everything, then we can look at the policy and be like, okay, how much of this do you want to issue? How much do you want to put in? So literally to get started, we need to submit an application and get some answers back.
So where did they go to submit an application?
I mean, you could honestly do it on your own, I guess. You could contact life insurance companies and do it on your own, but that's exactly what I do. That's the service that I offer. Is I say, all right, I've already worked with these companies. They do great, they offer good policies. This is exactly who I've bought my policies from. And then I do the work for you. I submit the policy. I follow the policy. I issue the policy. I take care of things. So I'm literally your agent. So instead of you calling an 800 number, you work with me and I help you issue the policy. So
they need to call
finding
you.
a good agent. Yeah. So finding a good agent that's going to help you with the process, understand it, and submit everything is the best thing.
So where's the best place for someone to get a hold of you?
You can find me on Facebook, Jared Briggs, Instagram, Real Jared Briggs. I've got a website that I'm going to be launching soon. Or call, text, email. You want me to give my email and phone number on here?
If you want, yeah, man. If you want to actually reach out to you, you can give your phone number here and they'll write it down and give you a call. However you want to do it, whatever. So I know you're a very person. So if people are calling you, you're going to answer. So
heck yeah. So my office phone number is 435-557-3170. And you can call or text that. If I don't answer, send me a text, leave a voicemail, and I'll get back with you. Because sometimes I'm in a meeting like this and can't pick up, right?
Yep. Yeah.
I'm in the process of hiring a full-time assistant, so I don't miss phone calls anymore. So yeah, I'm expanding and growing too. But yeah. And then I've got a Facebook page too, Blue Clover Insurance. People can check out.
Okay. Sweet. So just reach out to Jared because you're ready to start your life insurance policy and begin an infinite banking. So you can get ahead financially and also secure your family for when you are gone, because it's a guarantee you're going to leave. It's the only guarantee we have in life other than taxes is that we will no longer be here. So
dude, that's why I don't get why people don't have life insurance. It's like, dude, you're going to die. Why not leave some incredible benefit for your family and friends? Like, you're going to die.
Yeah.
So like, that's how I look at it. Like, I want as much as I can get because my wife or my kids, like I want to leave it to them, teach them how to use it properly. Right. And then just freaking create some generational wealth. Like that's what I'm after, man. Like, I want to create a business and a lifestyle and a family, like empire that just continues. Like, I want to change my family tree. And this is the biggest tool. My wife and I we don't put any money in IRAs, 401ks, and nothing. This is the only place we're putting money right now. And it's a small amount right now, but we're constantly growing and improving that, right?
Yeah, step by step, you get ahead.
Yep, that's right.
Step by step. Okay, reach out to Jared, my friends. We're going to see you on the next video. Make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss out on any more great information. And we'll see you on the next one. Love ya. Peace.